My dad taught me that nothing is free. So why are card game shops free?
Put her there, Jim.
What's going on, champs? Today we're talking about a topic that I think should be addressed. I saw this post on X the other day talking about how some local game stores are charging a $5 table fee in order to use their tables or their space in order to play your favorite card game. Now, initially, knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, this sounds kind of bad. And the responses to this have been kind of wild, at least in my personal opinion. So let's just get into it. So I've played card games for a very long time. Every card shop that I've gone to in the LA South Bay area has never really charged a table fee. I've never been to a shop that charges a table fee. Old Frankensons did used to have a table fee if you wanted to sit down at the tables in the card game area, which was like a known thing. It didn't really bother anybody. And Frankensons before was not really a place to kind of play. It was just a place to get your collectibles, to get your singles, and then you were kind of out of there. You can go back to the locals that you usually go to. But why now do I think this is a good conversation to talk about is because I think we are, as players, taking advantage of the kindness of local card shops, and it's going to lead to them just not existing anymore. As much as I love and admire the idea of having a free place to play card games, realistically, that just doesn't make any sense living in the economy that we already do. And while it seems kind of scummy to say that, like, hey, you need to pay $5 or you need to spend at least $5 in our store to use our tables, local game stores actually are the ones that do not enforce this kind of action anywhere. Honestly, when you go to a restaurant, you have to buy the food at the restaurant. You can't just bring food from outside. Usually you can't do that. When you go to a cafe to get a cup of coffee, usually you buy coffee there in order to use the Wi-Fi or use the restroom. It's not an uncommon thing. I live in Los Angeles. There's a lot of signs that say the restrooms are only available for paying customers. That's an entirely different topic. The point I'm trying to make is that the practice of being a customer is important to using the space. And I don't think it's so weird that local game stores that provide a place to play for players is asking for money, or at least asking support in a more direct way. Now, there's a lot of nuance to this, right? Because it's not always cut and dry. Local game stores are also the only place that like doesn't charge you a table fee for like something that's a hobby. I remember when I used to play fighting games, there was a venue fee in order to even just play at the place that you were at. Sometimes that would be waived if you brought your own equipment, but most of the time you had to pay a venue fee. Warhammer 40K, it's pretty common practice to like rent a table for a certain amount of time because 40K games can take a long time. So the idea of like renting a table doesn't seem so crazy. So why is it with the idea of the same thing existing, you're going to a place to play your card game, that it's strange that a local game store would ask you for a fee? In most cases that I've already seen about this topic, most local game stores just ask if you buy at least $5 worth of something or just buy something at all. I think it's pretty rare to have just a flat table fee and then expect you in the store to spend more money than you already have. But even in the case where you're just paying for the place, I don't think that's a lot to ask for, especially in this economy. Local game stores are, I would say, a work of passion. It's not the most successful business practice, and brick and mortar stores are very difficult to uphold. Rent is extremely high. The economy is definitely very difficult to manage, and you have people coming in here using the electricity, using the space, using the air conditioning, using the restroom, all for free. Now, is that to say all of or a majority of the player base is freeloading off the free space? No, I'm not saying that either. I think in most cases, people who do go to game stores are buying product, and there's just a smaller number of people who actually go and don't really purchase anything or contribute back to the local game store that they're at. And I understand that times are tough, okay? I understand when we're talking about the economy and spending money, like not everybody has $5 or has money that week in order to spend on product at their local game store. But the funny thing about that argument is that you have bought cards. You have bought into a hobby, whether those cards were gifted to you, maybe you traded your way up. You have to understand that there is a value in the game that you are playing, that there is a monetary number connected to the cards that you have. They have value. And I think it's pretty safe to say that card games is not a free hobby. Most hobbies are not free. So realistically speaking, if we're talking about a hobby where a majority of the players or the collectors are spending money on the product that they're playing with, and we still engage with the idea that there's a small population of people who actually never spend money, there should still be a sizable chunk of players and collectors that should be able to purchase things from the local game store that they are going to. Like, isn't it a little weird that you can come in with like a $200, $300 commander deck and all of a sudden you're off put because the guy who's working the counter says you need to pay $5 to use a table? I don't know. Like, I feel like we're missing the plot of like how this place even exists in the first place. Local game store is still a store. store. They are a business. They need to make money. And I think we owe them a little bit of leeway and a little bit of understanding when they are engaging with the idea of trying to make a profit from people who have utilized their space in what I would say an unfair manner and have established a sort of environment of entitlement that now when we see these fees go up, we're all of a sudden offended. Like that is weird to me. Now, I will say that there are some good arguments here, especially about kids or teenagers that are trying to get into the hobby. You obviously don't want to gatekeep those kids or younger audiences from engaging with the card game that you like. But my biggest counterpoint to that is if you're a child and you're going to a local game store, I assume you're with your parents. You should be with your parents. Or if you're like a teenager that's like to go out by themselves, maybe they're like there for the weekend at the age of like 14 or 15, they want to see what Magic the Gathering's about, when they want to see what Yu-Gi-Oh's about, but they didn't bring a ton of money or no money at all. What is the best way to deal with those situations? I think we need to look at this as more of a learning opportunity as opposed to like, well, this is going to keep the younger audiences away. Because if you truly believe that, then just pay for them, right? Like that's a simple solution. If you feel like they don't have the opportunity to do that, then open that opportunity for them and pay for their table fee. And we're all just speaking hypothetical. If your local game store doesn't have a table fee, then I guess this doesn't apply to you. But if you're really concerned about the kids, then support the kids. The second thing is just understanding where we are now in the business of card games. We can sit here and talk like boomers and say, back in my day, we didn't have to pay for any tables. We could just sit wherever we want. I used to do that back in 2010, but it's not 2010 anymore. It's 2024. A pack of card sleeves is $12 when I only used to spend $3 for a pack of Ultra Pros. Yu-Gi-Oh packs used to be $3 and now some of them are $6. Like, come on, like the economy is different. The world is different. The money that we're spending is different. The rent is higher and the cost to play these games is getting astronomically insane. But we're gonna be upset that the place that we go to maybe every other weekend, maybe every Tuesday to play Commander is asking for some financial support when they provided a space for people. Like, come on, that doesn't make any sense. Teach the kids that this might be the new normal. Teach them that this is a way you support a local game store, that you support a community. I'm not going to ding the store because they have to make money. I'm going to ding the players who aren't making the opportunity to make that environment accepting for the younger generation. Also, most local game stores that I've been to understand their audience better than most people and can definitely be a case by case basis. Maybe there's only a table fee on the off days like Monday and Wednesday, which you can have some marketing on like Magic Commander Night where it's free play and there's a raffle. That's what my local game store does. Or if you participate in a tournament or a draft, you don't have to pay the table fee because that's your entry. Shops can get bigger turnouts and then you can also support your store that way. Now, I'm not a local game store owner. I'm not going to tell you how you should conduct your practice in your business. I will say though that most players, or at least people that have posted about this, have engaged with the idea that they would like to spend money and get something in return, whether that be store credit or a snack pack or something. I think a snack pack's actually a really good idea. I'm more on the defense of the local game store side, understanding that if they just want to charge $5 for a table, let them. They want to charge $10 for a table, $20, $30, let them. I'm not going to be mad about it. Maybe at some point it reaches a price range where I feel like it's not justified, but that's on the local game store. That's not my personal feelings thinking like, oh my God, how could they hate us? That's just me understanding, okay, I can't afford to be here, so I'm going to go somewhere else. And I think that's also the hard reality on the local game store side. Like, they don't want to push their audiences away. They don't want players to not come back. So it's this weird balancing act of like to support the player base that has supported them for a while, but also trying to incorporate ways that are going to financially support themselves. And more of my issue isn't the practice of putting those implications in place, but the response to this idea that like, oh my God, how dare they ask us for money when I come here and use their electricity, their tables, their restrooms, their food, and spend 5 to 6 hours in this room. And they want to charge me $5 for existing in this place? How could they? Like, I don't know, guys. I feel like that's just a weird argument. I don't think there's anything wrong with a little game store trying to financially support themselves. And I still think we owe them a little bit of patience and a little bit of understanding from where they're coming from. If you truly feel that negative about a $5 paywall that exists, maybe you should really talk to the store owner and understand where they're coming from and actually help the shop get to where it needs to be, where they don't have to do that. A lot of shops in my area don't charge for table fees. Don't think it's a very common practice. I'm in the South Bay of LA though, so that could be completely different wherever you are. But there needs to be a sense of security, not just financially, but also as a community. It works two ways, guys. You can't just like say that, oh man, how could they take this place that we play all our like games at? You have to support the places that you're going to. This isn't a government funded place. This isn't a library. This isn't a park. It's usually a business that's owned by somebody who just really enjoys enjoys the environment of card games and board games and wants to extend it to a community, but now that community is more than entitled to bite the hand that feeds them when they ask for help. And I just don't vibe with that. But that's my opinions. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance here, and maybe more important topics weren't touched upon in this video, but I think it's more important to have an understanding of what this actually means as opposed to just saying, oh, well, this is a terrible idea. Leave your comments below so I can see what you guys are thinking. Make sure to like and subscribe and check out our Discord. We also have a new shop page where you can check out some of our daddy's merch. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.